Do you realize your perfect husband has betrayed you? Our story starts with a memory. A young girl wakes up to her dad standing over her, wet from the rain and saying something, but she's so tired she falls back asleep. Decades later, that young girl becomes Na Moon Young, a lawyer who quit working at the prosecutor's office to work for her doting husband's law firm, and then took a back seat and became a silent partner at the law firm so she could focus on raising their daughter. Namun Young and her husband, Cha Jae, have a perfect marriage. He talks about how much he loves her and wonders if maybe they should have another child. She shoos him away because she has to leave to meet a friend who she used to work with at the prosecutor's office. She and this friend have a time. They have so much fun that Namun Young does not even remember how she got home. But when she wakes up, her perfect husband is cooking breakfast. He tells her he's going to take their daughter to school and that he has an important trial with a big corporation today, so he will be home late. Before he leaves, he wants her to know that he cooked her a special soup just for people who had a little bit too much to drink. How do I get this life? Anyways, she says goodbye to him and decides to take a little nap. Well, that nap is the end of the sweet life because she's awoken by the lead paralegal at her husband's law firm. The lead paralegal tells her that her husband did not show up to work today and is not answering anyone's calls. None of the attorneys can take the cases because they all have trials, and this is a huge client, so they need her as a partner at the firm to show up to court today. Namun Young has not been in court in almost a decade. She's driving, she's looking literally everywhere but the road in front of her, but she does her best to learn about the case. The case is about an employee from Gumshin Corporation hitting someone with their car. The corporation wanted to demolish all of the houses in a low-income neighborhood and offered all of the tenants some money to move away. The last holdout who refused to move away was the person who the corporate employee hit with her car. Fortunately, a random person walking in the neighborhood witnessed the incident, and he's willing to testify that the victim jumped out in front of the car. Despite being on the Hot Mess Express, Namun Young collects herself and shows up confidently. Well, her confidence was pointless because it's a disaster. Ma Gong, the chief officer of the corporation, looks at her and condescendingly tells her to find her husband as soon as possible and just reschedule the trial. The employee suspect who was on trial nearly faints when Namu Young said her husband is not going to be able to show up to court. Ma Gong's bodyguard is for some reason annoyed with everyone, and he disapprovingly looks Namu Young up and down. When the witness arrives, everyone looks at him with the misery they feel. Then the employee suspect pretends to use the bathroom and flees. Again, like I said, disaster. Namun Young tells the judge that her client is gone, and the judge agrees to reschedule the court date. She keeps calling her husband with no answer. So she starts driving one of the paralegals back to the law firm. All of a sudden, she looks to her right and sees what looks like a band-aid that her husband was wearing that morning. She's hoping that this is her husband and speeds after the car, trying to get a look at the driver, but the car makes a quick left and loses her. She's worried that maybe her husband is mad at her and thinks that she actually did something when she was out the night before. So she spends the rest of the day sitting in her car telling him that nothing happened, but she gets no response. All of a sudden, she looks up and the employee suspect is standing in front of her house. When she gets out of the car to try and talk to her, the employee suspect literally runs into the bushes. So strange. But before Namun Young can catch up with her, Ma Gong's bodyguard shows up and tells her Ma Gong wants his money and that she needs to find her husband ASAP. She tells him she has no idea what he's talking about, but she's getting worried. The next morning, she goes to the law firm looking for clues when a detective who was demoted because Namun Young reported his lazy detective work walks in. He still holds a grudge against her and actually suggests that she hurt her husband and is only pretending to look for him. She realizes it's going to be a long day, so she calls one of her neighbors and asks if she can pick up her daughter Bom from school. While her daughter is being picked up, Namun Young receives a phone call from the employee suspect begging her to meet immediately. Namun Young goes to meet her, and would you believe this employee suspect has the nerve to tell Namun Young that she was planning to run away with her husband? And she's really disappointed because Cha Sung-jae, Nam Eun-young's husband, seems to have run away without her. Before Nam Eun-young can properly handle this person, the witness from the trial shows up on a motorcycle and just stares at them. The employee suspect assumes that Nam Eun-young and the witness were working together and planning to ambush her, so she just speeds out of there. Nam Eun-young asks the witness what he wants and why he's following her, but he just tells her to find her husband. She's about to go off on him, but then they see a bunch of police cars and her phone rings. She receives a call that her husband drove his car off a cliff and left a note. He did not survive and the body is badly burned. Nam Eun-young doesn't want to believe this, but when she goes down and looks at the body, she sees her husband's wedding ring. She also sees the Band-Aid that he was wearing this morning. Her father-in-law and mother-in-law arrive, and they are also devastated. Nam Eun-young can accept that her husband is gone, but she cannot accept that he did this to himself. She just can't. And she wonders if maybe someone messed with his brakes on his car. She wants an autopsy, but can barely get the words out when her wild mother-in-law slaps her across the face hard. Even the detective who has beef with Nam Eun-young is thinking, this is a bit too much. The mother-in-law says that no one is going to touch her son's body and he has suffered enough. The mother-in-law stresses Nam Eun-young out so badly that she passes out. She wakes up to see her prosecutor friend looking over her and telling her she has to wake up now because the mother-in-law found a way to hold the funeral immediately. Nam Eun-young rushes over, but she's too late. They decided to cremate the body without her permission. She tries to stop them, but her father-in-law holds her back. She looks down and sees her little girl who's also devastated. Someone else is at the funeral, though. The witness from the trial. Why is he there? On the bus ride home from the funeral, she thinks about how the letter her husband wrote is in his handwriting. Could it really be that he was under so much stress because of debt from the law firm that he would do something like this? She talks to her prosecutor friend and tells her that she knows the police won't help her because that detective does not like her. So she's going to figure this out herself. She's also going to try and hold things down at the law firm so that they don't lose clients. But while she's at the office, she receives another terrible phone call. And this time, unfortunately, it's to tell her that the employee suspect is gone. She's been terminated. Nam Eun-young thinks that Ma Gong must have ordered this harm on the employee suspect, and she decides to confront him at his workplace. I don't know what she was thinking. He was not in the mood because he literally says, "How dare you try to mess with me?" And then he proceeds to clock her tea. He tells her, "Your husband has been doing shady things. Your husband is suspicious and your husband stole money from me." But then he gets too upset and he pushes her up against the wall. So she exits immediately. And he's still so upset that he starts fighting with the elevator. While he's fighting with the elevator, Nam Eun-young is staring at a picture near the exit of the building. In this picture, her husband is at a ribbon-cutting ceremony with Ma Gong. But why would he join such a ceremony for one of his clients? She stays in the office all day trying to solve this mystery and picks up her poor daughter Baum late. Before she can enter the house, she sees a package with no return address. There's an envelope inside the package that instructs to check the shoe closet. When she checks the shoe closet, she sees what looks like a regular shoebox, except when she opens it, there's money inside. A lot of money. Could her husband have really planned all this? Does this mean her husband actually did this to himself? She asks her father-in-law, but he has no idea what's going on. Her daughter says, "I feel like I saw Dad today, or at least it really, really looked like him." But Nam Eun-young tells her daughter that this is probably grief, and sometimes grief makes us think we saw things that we didn't actually see. This little girl is so sad. Her prosecutor friend does her a favor, and she brings her the case files of the employee suspect and of the witness. She reveals that the employee suspect was charged with embezzling money from the corporation before this incident, and the witness had been charged with harming someone. Nam Eun-young notices another picture. This time, she sees the employee suspect who's no longer with us, her mother-in-law, her father-in-law, and a bunch of other people from the father-in-law's foundation. The next morning, she tries to confront the lead paralegal, but of course, she says nothing. Nam Moon-young finally gets that witness who's been following her around for the past 48 hours to meet with her and tell her what her husband was helping him with and why he needs to find her husband. He's on the way to meet her when all of a sudden a car makes a U-turn and starts following him. Who is following the witness so late at night? Where did the money in Nam Moon-young's house come from? Did her husband really intentionally do this to himself? I'll have the answers to all of those questions in the next video. Stay tuned. Bye.